0-1. In memory of Gabe, do have the first pick. So they're going to ban Poseidon right away. They don't want to see that across the side.
I wouldn't be surprised to see in memory of Gabe looking for that Cabrakan pick, considering how well we just saw Walrus display
Walrus
it.
played great.
And not to mention, it's just such a strong factor right now. He has so much damage early on. Plus, when you add in the Vanguard on top of his Tremors, there's a ton of lockdown potential. And it looks like Serket is going to be the immediate go-to for in memory of Gabe.
Shore, previously playing on the console scene, comes over and joins in memory of Gabe, which is pretty much a all-star team of North American either already proven themselves or players that have just done so. Shore on the Serket, he did it on the box, he's doing it here on the PC. He looks very strong, and this is a character that I think low-key in game number 1. If we rewatch the VOD, Taco, I think we're going to see Serket has a large impact in those team fights, so absolutely. And there you go, Wally gets his Cabrakan.
He gets his Cabrakan in the top 3 picks, so I'm sure that he's pretty satisfied with that. And at the same time, what you just mentioned, how Serket was kind of a unmentioned factor, but who was probably having a lot of impact. I think the Medusa as well on Hurrywind, we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about it because it was mostly just Snoopy having his way with Luminosity alongside of Walrus, but that Medusa ultimate coming out at such ideal times for In Memory of Gabe was also another determining game factor for Memory of Gabe. It was really hard. You can't fight into that Petrify, especially when your team's already behind.
I agree. I'm not rolling my eyes at your assumption of how I'm tired of Scotty.
You're Scotty. I saw the Scotty pick come through, and I knew immediately how you feel about it. We've had so many discussions about this god.
The character is doing well right now, so we'll see her picked up. Morgan will be played as well. Neath here. Yeah, when it comes down to Hurwin for a long time has just been the role player on whatever teams he winds up on, and I think a lot of people take that statement negatively, but absolutely not. While you have your superstars that are winding up, pulling out the highlight reels and stuff, Hurwin every game is making sure he's the cogs that just sit in the background, making sure that everything's working, and those ultimates come through to set up Snoopy and Walrus's Cabrakan. The acid spray comes out to set up the damage for Serket to drop the ultimate and spread the poison amongst the rest of the team. So no real surprise there. Chang'e will be the selection. Maybe for Hurwin. You can never really tell what Snoopy's going to play. So, in memory of Gabe, up 1-0, taking on LG for game number 2. We'll take it to the battleground of the gods to see who winds up on top. And now we get to see where Chang'e is. And it will be the mid lane. That's where you're expected to see her if you're a newer viewer. But in memory of Gabe, just Snoopy is known for taking mages into that long lane. So, want to be extra careful.
Already immediately liking this draft significantly more than the previous one we just saw out of Luminosity. So much more early to mid game presence coming out for Luminosity, which should really help them in preventing In Memory of Gabe to just snowball the game early on like we saw in game number 1. And now Ionic once again on this Sobek and Snoopy on the Neath. That's a really high clearing lane, but they're having to face off against the Sex Tank with the Bacchus and Scotty. Yeah. Scotty, as we're well aware, has excellent early lane clearing potential. Barracuda looks like he might be left alone again this time around, so he's probably just going to opt to secure these mini creeps off of the red buff, purple buff potentially, and then just safely farm away in lane.
A little bit better of a character, I think, to be left alone. This Barracuda on the Scotty. Much different world than we saw last time around. Interesting start coming out from Luminosity. However, Mask and Basket are going to start, and the enemy speed buff.
I think that that's a smart decision to make for Luminosity, though, because they probably recognized that Hurrywind and Cynosia immediately opted to just secure their own red buff, so they might as well rotate over to the speed, pick that up, take away the little bit of extra mobility from Cynosia on the Serket, and now with Mask having the speed buff available on the Morgan, as well as his own buffs available to clear out, that's a ton of experience, which is what you'd want, because the sooner this Morgan hits level 5, the sooner she gets to take whatever she wants as far as God kits are concerned in the game.
Exactly, so she definitely wants to really boost that up and match right away. seems to be doing just fine. Again, this is so much more about how the individual pilots the character than the character itself. One of the more difficult gods, I think, in Smite, not just because of how you have to execute the ultimate and pick a character and the quickness of the decision making, but also the fact that, you know, her own kit does offer a little bit as well. So you kind of have to, one, you have to be functional or at least competent at playing the other character that you're going to turn into. And then you also have to be competent at the character you're playing. So, you know, for a jungler to transform into, let's say, a Chang'e, although I don't think that's going to be the target, really, that's going to be a little bit awkward if you're not practicing that Chang'e jungle like DJ has. So it's really up to Mask to really flex and show us just how many characters can you play?
How many gods are actually in your god pool?
Exactly, yeah.
And for Scary D, it looks like Osiris is a part of his god pool as he's making this lane extremely more difficult for Walrus this go around. Just already poking him out to under half health, not having a care in the world about those tremors. And Walrus looking really low on mana, especially considering that he didn't get to have his blue buff. And when you're a Bracken, blue buff is probably one of the most important things in the game at the start.
Jeff Hinla served up, but he'll walk away. That's one of the nice things about having the Bacchus is that if you do get plucked, you just jump back to exactly where you were before.
Pretty ideal scenario for him to be in comparison to a Khepri, where before he was kind of just getting plucked and having to be manhandled, and I'm sure he wasn't too happy about that last game. So we can probably expect him to be looking for the engagements onto Ionic, if anything, this go around.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you're combined with the damage out of Barracuda. I think Jeff's just kind of done of being plucked and killed. So 3 minutes in, we're seeing more of a stagnant game than we did earlier because the Shibalaki was just so easy to punish that we didn't see, that's all we saw. We just saw Snoopy coming in and punching out Barracuda or the enemy in the or IMOG in Luminosity's jungle right there, not really allowing Barracuda to walk away. That was what we were focused on before. There was an abundance in the nothingness. Now, it's kind of just farming.
It's entirely farming, not to mention that Scotty versus Neath, that is a really safe laning matchup. And speaking of safe, Scary D might not be so safe himself as the gank is coming through from Cynosure, popping the ultimate, following up Snoopy's ultimate, and the poison will be enough. First blood going the way of Cynosure.
Jeff Hinla pops over the wall, Mask is in tow, uses Morgan to change into the Medusa, and there's two of them! One gets one, and the other gets the other. Baskin winds up with the kill. That was a cute play. Love it. Morgan working out very well here for Luminosity. Too many petrifies, and everybody turns into a rock.
That's actually pretty hilarious when you think about it, because you just don't really expect that. You think you're getting away. They both split up with that forking maneuver, and it just made zero difference whatsoever. Just both completely cut off, and excellent gameplay overall by Luminosity. That's the response you want to see when your solo laner is falling down.
Yeah, just shout outs to Mask right there, figuring out, you know, that because Medusa is probably not the #1 character that you're thinking about, right? When you're making that chase down, I'm, you know, as a jungler, maybe your mind snaps immediately to the Circuit, right? She's got a lot of mobility, the ultimate available. That probably a great character for the chase down, but the Petrify out of Medusa was exactly what Mask needed at that moment in time to really secure that kill.
Or Bracken even.
Yeah.
Bracken is also another factor that Mask could certainly have a lot of free reign with should he opt for that route. But at the same time, Scary D already back into the lane and still maintaining a slight lead over Walrus here in that solo lane, despite having just been first blooded.
I mean, that's the decision making that we were talking about with respect to the Morgan. And whether she's in the jungle, the solo, the mid, wherever she's at, it's going to be a troublesome situation. Again, same play coming out. This time, Scary D's a little bit ready for it. One, he's in a better position, and two, like I said, he already saw this episode.
He saw that
So
one.
he's going to go, as soon as that Neath ultimate comes on him, he's not thinking he might be able to deal with it. He's running right for the tower and just outranges Cyno's Madness ticks.
Just a little bit of deja vu falling through that way. And
here's
Cynosure, again, he might have a crush on him.
Yeah, this is deja vu all over again. Hey! Walrus, you forget what the Osiris passive does? He walks right on through the wall. No big deal. Not only is it damage mitigation, It's also Phantom for himself, so Osiris not going to have trouble there, but Ionic, he's going to have trouble there. Barracuda picks up the third kill for him and his squad. The first kill for him, rather. Third kill for his squad. Trouble for Baskin. Sanoshore drops to Zigzag, and he drops to mid lane Hunter. Baskin falls down, and that'll be the first death for the Hunter.
And Hurrywin able to just barely escape. Excellent peeling done by the side of a Memory of Gabe to just ensure that Hurrywin was able to get out on that Chang'e, despite having expended his immobility. Or his immobile presence. So
I got what you're saying.
You know,
I was following.
You're getting what I'm putting down, so it's fine.
Exactly. Right now, Luminosity grouped up in 3. They want to put Walrus down because that has been Scary D has been the focus for In Memory of Gabe. Not only 2 times did we see the all-out initiation come out with the Snoopy help, but when that failed the second time, Sino still went for the kill. Why is In Memory of Gabe so focused on this Osiris?
The issue here, though, with Cynosure placing so much focus onto Scary D is that it's actually permitting Scary D to maintain this lead over Walrus. Sure, he has to play a little bit more passive, but every single time, Cynosure's picking up 3 creeps, 3 melee minions, a wave, and all that farm being split between him and Walrus is just permitting Scary D to keep acquiring his own solo farm, and with that in tow, he's able to just comfortably ride it out. And these Circuit ganks aren't really as much of a threat at this stage in the game when it's a level 10 Osiris now, and he's a solo laner. He's just going to be building tank the entire time for the most part, and with how much pressure he's already exerting over Walrus, I think that these ganks are actually starting to work against Gabe.
Luminosity looking on the left side. Gold Fury not up just yet, but the Oracles certainly are. Jeff Finley half HP already. Here's going to be Mask again, opting for the Hunter, using Petrify to change the situation. And Ionic very low, but a nice ultimate out of Snoopy is going to stick Mask right where he stopped. And again, Mask opting, like I said, for the Medusa. That's going to be twice in a row.
Trying to brush up on his ADC skills a little bit, give Barracuda a run for his money. So, interesting enough, though, that Luminosity immediately after that fight are just leaning straight towards this side with the elementals, just wanting to ensure that they pick up as much farm as possible on the map right now, while the Oracles and Gold Fury are unavailable.
Yeah, there's just nothing really on the dual lane side to get for these teams, so Lumi just staying away. 9 minutes in so far. We've got 3 kills to 2 Luminosity on the heavier side right there, and also with respects to the gold. They're about 3,000 gold in the lead, maybe closer to 2, but either way, Luminosity having the more successful game here. Certainly a different story than game number 1, in which In Memory of Gabe was able to just put Luminosity down from minute 1. LG went for a very late game composition, and In Memory of Gabe made sure that they just couldn't get there. Here in game number 2, Luminosity change up their draft a little bit, and shouts to Mask, who's had a nice performance with the Morrigan so far.
One important aspect to note, though, as far as the dual lane is concerned, is that Barracuda has already finished his Transcendence, so that means he's going to have the stack benefit on his side, but Snoopy's still trailing a little bit behind there. He doesn't have the full power spike available to himself yet, or his team, because that's really what he's looking for with how much he's been spamming his Neath ultimate. Pretty much every single time it's been available, Gabe has been trying to exert some sort of pressure. And again, we see the same play, Cynosure, Scary D, and ultimates all over again.
This time, Luminosity, though, they're going to respond. 3 players show up to protect their solo laner. Scary D doesn't fall down. That's going to be 2.5 ganks in a row, right? Because we saw that first one that failed, and then Sanoshore just looped around and tried again. So we'll call it 3 separate ganks. But 2.5 ganks that fail. Sino walks right into Baskin. Ooh, gets hit with the ultimate one-man stun. Ionic, beautiful block coming out from Scary D to stop Ionic in his tracks, but I don't know if Lumi can really chase this. Mask again goes for the Medusa. Not going to find a kill that time around. Portal Demon will be the object of choice for LG to look at.
No kills for Mask on that Petrify from the Morrigan ultimate, but at the same time, it did force out Hurrywin's beads, and so with that unavailable, In Memory of Gabe have a pretty tough decision to make on whether or not they want to try and contest this Portal Demon.
Ionic and Hurwin look like they want to. Snoopy says yes as well. Portal Demon goes down to Luminosity despite IMOG's best efforts, and here Hurwin gonna fall. Barracuda picks up the mid lane mage. Not gonna be enough is one dance. Ionic low, and he's low enough to be 0. Jeff Hindler over the top, gets the kill with the belly flop. Nice damage coming out from the rest of the squad. And here, this time, Walrus trying to escape with his life. A quarter of HP to his name. Dashing forward is going to be Baskin. Can't grab him just yet. Burp not going to stun either, just barely. Walking away, but Mask gets the kill on the Morrigan. 2 kills for him, next to 3 assists. He's been a part of 5 out of Luminosity's 7 kills.
Luminosity still need to be careful, though, because with that Portal Demon having gone the way of In Memory of Gabe at the last second, the team fight was great, but Barracuda just not feeling so great now. I mean, he thought that he was fine underneath the T2 tower, and I mean, you can't really blame him in that circumstance since Cynosure did back off, but excellent follow-up by Cynosure.
This is why you first picked the Circuit for the jungler. Look at the slash lines. Gabe gonna flip Jeff Hindler towards the rest of the team. Scary D from the backside, but he's an Osiris. He doesn't really have a big bang ultimate to change the face of the team fight. So Luminosity instead are the first ones on the board. That's gonna be Mask getting the kill here. Snoopy trying to fight into it very low, however, still winds up taking out the clone, not the real character. And that's the backflip. Mask still here and shuts him down.
And Hurrywin now on the retreat away from Mask. Mask and Jeff not opting to try and follow up and look for the potential pick onto Hurrywin. And instead, it seems as though Luminosity are setting their targets onto this Gold Fury.
So Scary D makes the wraparound. I mean, as the Osiris, that's not really needed. You can walk head first into the team fight. You're not going to surprise people with a giant Petrify.
I think Scary D mostly just wanted to try and be a body blocking factor as well as scare Gabe from trying to retreat towards him because he's really farmed right now. He's a big boy right now on this Osiris. Level 13 has a Pestilence online already, which is affecting the heal coming out from Hurrywin. So if he's just running around in the back line, it will be preventing Gabe from utilizing this Chang'e heal as well as they would ideally want to. So it's not the worst decision in the world to just wrap around that backside and just be an overall threatening force. Plus, he does have the cleave damage coming out from his auto attacks already, so I think that's a safe play to make.
Not a bad choice. Scary D opting to go for the assassin route there, wrapping around the backside. And actually that one comes up in Luminosity's favor, I'd say, pretty well. Extending their lead now to about 4K here. Scary D has been a decent part of it, but I think it's the Mask show right now. Mask has helped Scary D over there in that solo lane achieve what he's getting and going for. And like I said, I mean, he's 4-0-3. You can't really argue with that one.
100%. And Mask is really starting to highlight what teams have talked about in the behind-the-scenes aspect when it comes to concerns over the Morrigan.
Right.
She can be incredibly difficult to deal with, but as hard as she is to deal with, she's also pretty hard to execute because should Mask mess up in the slightest for Luminosity, he is a large portion of their damage as well as their engaging factor. So if Mask doesn't find the right spot to be in or the right usage of a kit, that's immediately probably going to be a loss for Luminosity.
Exactly, and that's what's been so scary about the Morgan is the fact that it's all down to the pilot of the character. And this is the first day that I think we've seen some really strong Morgan play. Mask right here, and earlier Benji out of the solo lane. Right now, Walrus is the solo laner that's in trouble, surrounded by Luminosity members. The wall's not good enough. And Baskin picks up the kill from the mid lane. Here comes Mask. He's the Morgan, and he's going to be turning into Medusa, and he's going to be picking up the kill. Eonic falls down. There's one, and Cyno answers back. That's the light in the darkness for In Memory of Gabe. They need to lean on the jungler, who's looking for number 2, but Barracuda's waiting in the hallway. Hurrywin picks up Scary D on the back.
Blinking into the Scotty ultimate, just what a reflex from Barracuda. Just as soon as he saw that blink come out, knew that Cynosure was trying to engage onto Baskin and pop that ultimate right away. No escape whatsoever. And Circuit ultimately costing his life because of it.
Yeah, like that's the play. I like the play. I like the idea coming out from Cyno, but like I said, I mean, Barrow's just waiting. Hey, but he's surprised. I don't think Cyno was really expecting that. That's who they have to lean on. In Memory of Gabe picked this character first for Cyno Shore. Circuit right off the bat, Walrus is not going to be able to really make a shot here for the Portal Demon. Tosses down the ultimate a little bit too soon. Tremors, maybe he can do it.
Oh.
And it's memory of Gabe. Walrus by himself sneaks away the objective. Baskin takes down Wally for it. But the Portal Demon does belong to Gabe. Here's the team fight afterwards. Scary D helped out by Jeff Hinla on the left side. All the members from LG going to filter on the left, with the exception of Baskin, who's giving chase to Eonic on the left. Scary D picks up Snoopy. And Luminosity find that their split up is successful, but they do lose that objective that they were looking for.
It was such a beautiful ultimate by Hurrywin 2 on this Chunk God, but just no chance whatsoever for his team to follow up. They were already too poked out on the retreat, just trying to run away. And while it seemed like it would have been great for disengage, it's so unfortunate to land a Chunk on that many people and just not be able to follow up on it.
Walrus hits the ultimate and is not enough to take the objective, and he goes to the Tremors, at which point he says to his team, guys, I missed it. And he's just hitting the Tremors for, you know, for the hell of it, pretty much. And he winds up getting the steal. Is that Luminosity just not securing the objective right?
Sure, a bit of a misplay by Luminosity to not properly secure the Portal Demon there, but when you think about it, they got a better deal out of that because not only did it force Gabe to expend some of their ultimates, but they also lost their solo laner. It forced a really awkward fight for memory of Gabe, and ultimately they're just not even able to utilize that Portal Demon because they're pretty behind at this point in time. There's a 6K, almost 7K gold disparity between these two teams, and Luminosity's draft is probably a bit more favorable once these gold disparities and experience differences start to really come into play, considering that they have this Morrigan available, and when you've got two fairly fed characters fighting into your team, that becomes incredibly difficult to deal with.
And I mean, also, not for nothing, it's just for the sake of the matter that it's less than 1,000 gold for that Portal Demon. So
Exactly.
perhaps the wrong objective to go into. Gold Fury is the one that you want.
And it looks like Luminosity really want the Gold Fury. Kind of just dancing around it. A little bit awkward at the moment.
They want the fight.
In memory of Gabe, know that they want the fight, though. And that's why
Exactly.
they're trying to tread so much caution around this Gold Fury. But it's already down to 20% health. Luminosity going to unleash it. Jeff Hinla with the big flop engage. And now, here comes Scary D in the back line.
He's by himself, however, does put out damage onto Snoopy, and Herwin has to find an exit down south as well. Sonoshore gone. He's out of the fight, not dead, but Barracuda and friends clean up on the side of Luminosity, taking down Walrus and Snoopy and Eonic. Barracuda really doing the heavy lifting for his squad. 5-1-2. Game number one, Barra couldn't be the catalyst because he was stuck under the opposition. Here, he rises above. 7 kills, 5 kills for the Hunter, 7 with his name on it.
Give Barracuda a little bit of farm, and he will farm your team. That is exactly what he is doing in game number 2 right now, too, in memory of Gabe. Snoopy 1, 3, and 4 hasn't really had much of an opportunity to have any sort of presence in comparison to the first set or the first game, where Barracuda was the one being completely controlled, and now the tables have purely turned, and Bear is just having a complete free rampage on this Scotty and probably loving it because there is nothing better than being an immobile hunter who can deal a ton of damage getting to free cast in the back line.
So I think Snoopy has had a different style impact, and I think that's largely in part due to the type of character. We saw Snoopy make the early and mid-game rotations on the Cupid, and that cripple field, we saw the Fantastic Zone come out while they secured objectives. He's able to secure some kills. Snoopy, on the other hand, now it wasn't as successful. He's not as successful in general as game number 1, but I think Snoopy's impact is different here, where he's helping Sino and Walrus get the kills on a Scary D, or at least the attempted kills, right? So that's how Aneath is going to impact the game differently than the Cupid. So I think part of it is down to, his team just isn't doing the things, but it's also the idea that he's on a very different character. Snoopy's not expected to do a lot of the damage here. This is when it really falls onto. Honestly, that's why the team first picks the Sino short pick. Walrus just walks into everybody, and he's going to fall down. Basket with the kill out of the ultimate. And the rest of the team is trying to find safety in the jungle.
The wrong neighborhood for Walrus to be walking around as a Cabrakan and completely punished for it as well. Mass just trying to pop off the Medusa ultimate, see if anybody was hanging around that corner. Unable to find someone, but ensuring that In Memory of Gabe is backing off entirely, and that's still a win for Luminosity. And now the interesting aspect here will be to see whether or not they can secure their first Portal Demon of the game.
And they're looking for it, and they're likely going to get it. In fact, absolutely will.
No one to contest this time.
Yeah, nobody on In Memory of Gabe can really even show up. So that's going to be LG free and clear. They're going to pick up the Portal Demon, and we'll see how quickly they come back to really go for the Fire Giant, and it's right away. You can see the Hunter making his way over there towards it. Baskin trying to play safe, looking to see who's around. Oh, but Gabe is backing right now. Luminosity needs a hard, well, not so much then Ionic is here. Luminosity want to do the same thing they did with the Gold Fury. I think Taco is, they'll look for the objective, but they really want to kill anybody that shows up.
It's Scary D just zoning out Cynosure, pushing him as far away as possible from this side of the Fire Giant. And realistically, there's nothing that Cynosure can do facing up against that Osiris by himself. He is so massive right now on his Osiris. 2-2-12, level 18, facing off against level 16 Circuit. Plenty of defense online, plus a Frostbound and a Wingblade.
Fire Giant low. Here comes Walrus in, looking for the steal. In Memory of Gabe are kind of in the conversation. Luminosity peeled. They don't want it anymore, but the Fire Giant still goes to them. Barracuda picks up 2, and Scary D cleans up the 3rd. 2 players alive. One is Sanoshore. He wants nothing to do with it. And one is Herwind, and he's dead. So that's not even part of the conversation any longer. Luminosity 22-6. You're looking at a college graduate versus a toddler here, folks. Luminosity is walking down the right lane.
That was so unfortunate for In Memory of Gabe. For what looked like for a moment would be a very successful Fire Giant steal, just ultimately resulted in complete and total disaster due to that Medusa ultimate falling through and just wreaking havoc onto In Memory of Gabe.
Are you still a toddler at 6? Does that count?
Maybe?
I don't know.
I think it's ages 4 through 6. That's pretty reasonable.
All right, so then I was on the money. Yeah, 10 points to me.
Either that or I was just a really old toddler.
Well, I mean,
I might still be. I know. Puberty came and then it left, and I don't think that it finished doing the job. So now, I mean, I've got what I've got, and you know, I know what Luminosity have got too, and that's another T1 tower in the Soul Lane, as well as what's about to be a T2. And with all of the towers falling off the map for In Memory of Gabe, that's just 2 Phoenixes that are going to be completely exposed.
you can keep going. I mean, if you're just going to sit here and roast yourself, I am totally down. I mean, this is fun. Usually I have to roast aggro. I have to do the hard work myself. But if you're just going to stand here.
I accepted things a long time ago for being the way that they are. Because here's the backside to this. When I was younger, I hit a growth spurt out of nowhere.
I don't believe
and
it.
everybody thought I was actually going to be tall.
There is
and
no...
then what ended up happening is that growth spurt stopped. Everybody else hit theirs, and because that was their puberty happening, but it didn't cut off halfway through. So nowadays, I get the voice cracks, I get the boards to stand on that can make me pretend of what it would be like to feel 5'4" for once in my life and hit that top shelf at the grocery store. But for now, I don't, and I'm all right with that.
Either way, Taco's got some issues to deal with, and Gabe has to deal with Luminosity barreling down the mid lane. They're playing for the game here. Baskin picks up 1. There's 2 for Kuda, and they're not done. They're going to go right for the Titan. Scary D picks up Snoopy. A little bit of a chase onto the kill. Baskin and Scary D, of course. It's those two. The rest of the team is actually going to listen. But it's Barracuda, Jeff Hindla, and Mask doing the hard work, taking down the Titan. If I could